Howdy everybody, David Minkin here, starting player with Connect More, and welcome to another edition of Avoid the Rules featuring Mafia City, a video of instruction and demonstration that helps ease rule understanding and learning. Easy start. That being said, as I do encourage you to actually read the rules, not because you actually want to read the rules, but the theme in this game is just awesome, and all the rules have a little thematic text that goes with them, and it's quite a very interesting and very entertaining read. So I highly would recommend that. But if that's not your thing, just watch this video, send it to your buddies before they come over, and get playing. Oh no, but there's a problem. I think that I'm probably one of two people who actually own a copy of this game in all of Canada. In the United States, I don't know, but it's not published or distributed in North America. What the heck? So I'm going to add to this this video a post commentary to address two things. One, this game is not published. Let's get it published. If you are a publisher and have the wherewithal to find a really awesome area control, area influence game with wicked negotiation, dripping in theme, boom, Mafia City. And the second point is next week is Essen. You may be trying to consider and weigh out how the heck you're going to pack your bags there, and more importantly, what you're going to pack in the bags back. Hopefully this video will give you some insight and some ideas as to what you might want to pack back, and if Mafia City might be one of those things you want to pack back with you. That being said, I taught this game 7 times at the FallCon convention, which has got about 500 attendees, and people loved it. And without exception, people who wanted to buy it after playing it were very disappointed to learn that they couldn't. So if that's any indication to you, the cross-section of people that were there were both hardcore gamers and light gamers as well, as this is an excellent intro to area control and area influence style of games. So I will have a post-game commentary to hopefully help you decide. I have a review to hopefully help you decide, and I really hope you enjoy this video. And if you don't really care about that, you just want to get playing, well, good luck, you don't have a copy. But if you do have a copy, awesome. And if you're in Calgary, you want to try it out, look me up. So let's get started with Avoid the Rules featuring Mafia City. So you'll notice here I've set up the game for a 4-player game where we are currently first player with the red, and you see across the way we have yellow, green, and blue. And I've set up the modular board of Mafia City here completely randomly, and we'll talk about that in a brief second. What I want to point out when you set up the game is each player will be given a stack of mafioso or poker chips, and you'll see that everybody has a stack in their hand is what it's called. And also over here, when you look at the general supply, we'll see that we have a deck of cards to deal with. We have starting player token, and what the heck, let's give it to us. Why not? I don't think our opponents will mind. They seem pretty agreeable. And you see here we got a pile of victory point tokens. We have some cubes to mark different areas. I'll talk about that in a second. But more importantly, we also have over here, for each player color, we have another stack of mafioso. And these are what are called the reserve. And so these are mafioso that will be available to you throughout the game, but you do not get the privilege of being able to start with them. I'll tell you how you can earn these mafioso and actually get them back in your hand and get these lazy slouches actually doing something for you. I know that this isn't avoid the rules, but unfortunately we will have to look at the rules. And the reason why is all of this setup is dependent on the number of players that are playing, and that's shown in the game setup of the rules. So if you just reference the chart, if you're playing with 3, 4, or 5 players, it tells you how many mafioso you actually have in hand, and that's what it's referring to as what you actually have here in front of you starting to play. And then it has what's also called the number of mafioso in reserve, and that's these mafioso over there. So then it'll also tell you the total number in play. So here for a 4-player game, we'll have 11 mafioso in play. We start with 7. There are 4 available to us. So you'll see over here, I've shown these are cards that are not being used in the game. That's okay. You just throw them back in the box and you're good to go. The other thing I should point out is, most importantly, when I teach people how to play a game, the first question always is, well, great, how do I win? Well, there's also another chart here that gives game ending conditions. And the game will end when a player scores a certain number of predefined victory points. And the way this chart is set up, again, for the number of players, you have 3, 4, and 5. If you are an experienced team of players and you don't have to really spend too much time figuring out the rules, then you would play to the victory points indicated in the middle. So during the round, when somebody scores 11 victory points, that would be the final round of the game. You'd still play the entire round of that game, because that doesn't necessarily mean that that person wins. That just means that triggers the game-ending round during that time. So for 3 players, it's 15, 4, 13, 5, 11. And then for beginners, it's slightly less, because the designers have taken into account saying, hey, you didn't watch the Connect More video, you maybe haven't quite read the rules quite all the way through. The winner is a person who, in fact, at the end of that round has the most victory points. So how do you get victory points? Well, it's really quite simple. During the game, there's a round called the location phase, and that's actually the second phase, or the second phase of the round. And during the location phase, 1 victory point will be given for each one of these areas within the city. If you control the majority, or if you have area control in that area, it's quite simple. You get a victory point. There are some bonus conditions that exist, and we'll talk about those in a second. So the easiest way to describe this game is to talk about each city location first, and then we can go back and describe, well, how the heck are you actually going to get majority in each of these locations? Because there are, in fact, if you look at the gameplay, there are in fact 4 different phases. There's the action phase. That's where you're basically exerting your influence on the city, or you're sending your heavies out to do your work. We are going to talk about that last. What we're going to talk about first is the location phase. The location phase is when each city location is resolved, and victory points are assigned, and certain benefits associated with each city tile is also awarded to the person who wins the majority. Then there's what's called the strategy phase. That's when you actually tell your heavies to come on back to your clubhouse and get regrouped for the next round. And then there's end of round, which is basically just some tidying and cleanup. So we're going to start first by describing the location phase, because that's the phase where the scoring happens, and where the bonuses and the benefits of each city tile take place. Once you understand that, then maybe perhaps your actions will make a little bit more sense. The other thing I want to say is, before we get started, everybody's dealt 2 cards in addition to the mafioso I put in the hand. You, at the very beginning of the game, have the ability to ditch those 2 cards, kind of like a mulligan, say, you know what, I don't like those 2 cards, I'm going to discard them, I'm going to take 2 new cards, and it has to be all or nothing. And so let's show that. So we've dealt out the cards, and the guy in the middle, the green guy, he's like, you know what, you're just a bad dealer today, Dave, I want some new cards. So he's going to take his cards, he's going to discard them over here, make a little discard pile, then he's going to take 2 new cards, and he's going to add them to his hand. So everybody has that option at the beginning of the game, kind of a mulligan to get started. So he's going to put his 2 new cards. He can't redo it, so hopefully he got something that was good. So let's get started and talk about the location phase. You'll notice that there are 7 different locations within the city. All of these locations, in fact, are outlined here on one of your little cheat sheets here, while going from 1 all the way through to 7. So as I'm teaching this to you, you may want to just follow along, because then this is going to be the reference card you're going to be using while you're playing, so it might make more sense to see it while I describe it. So the very first tile that we have here is called the jail. And again, you'll notice that each of these tiles has a little white spot, and that perfectly fits where your mafioso are going to go. So your mafioso would go here, for example. So you might have a situation like this. So when it gets time in the location phase to actually resolve this, you'll notice that the red person has 2 mafioso there, and the yellow also has 2 mafioso there. So one would think that this was a tie. Well, there is a tiebreaker for most of the locations in Mafia City, and that is the person who got there first, or the person who's at the bottom of the stack, is the person who gets the tiebreak. So in this particular case, red actually gets majority of the jail. And this makes sense, because, you know, this guy got there first. He started feeding the guards some pies with some unmarked bills in it, and started kind of working the system before yellow even decided to show up. So yellow was just a little too late. So red gets the majority in this particular case. So there's 2 things that happen. The first thing that would happen is red gets 1 victory point. So you go over here, go, woohoo, victory point. And so I put that in my marker there. I'm well on my way to victory. The second thing that occurs is there is a benefit associated with getting majority at each one of these city tiles. So, and these benefits are outlined here again on this little player aid card. By winning the majority here at the jailhouse, or at the jail, red can send somebody to jail. So he's going to take that green guy and send him to jail. So now he's, in effect, by winning majority in the jail, he has now changed the situation over here in the number 5 district, which is the business district, which we'll talk about in a second. So that's the actual benefit. So this allows you to do actually some cascading, planning. And that's one thing that's really quite clever about this game. And other tiles out there allow you to do something very similar. So now this is the only tile in the entire game where there's actually mafioso that are going to be stored outside of these white circles, and it's because they're here behind bars and singing a lonely jailhouse tune. But this guy now will stay in the jailhouse until you go through the entire round and back again, and next time you come to resolve the jail, this guy will be returned back to the green player, back to his hand. So this guy is effectively out of the game for a round. He's in jail. So that's how the jail works. The second district is the harbor, and this is where the hitman hangs out. So there he is with his little cigar and his violin case, and he's ready to go whack somebody. So again, the majority here works much the same way. If we had chits like this, red again would win majority because it's got the tie break, and he would get another victory point. Well, I'm doing really well, so I get another victory point. All right, and then the benefit is that I get to move the hitman to any adjacent tile. And so I can move them here, here, or here. And so let's suppose I'm going to move them over here. If I move the hitman, I have an additional benefit. After I move the hitman, I can actually put him to work and I can go whack somebody. So fantastic. So after I move the hitman over to here, then I would play the hitman card, which is titled Hitman, and this card and this card alone is the one that you would use. And again, we're in the location phase where we are resolving the victory points for all of the tiles, and I get to eliminate a mafioso. So in this particular case, I can move my mob boss over here and I can shoot the green guy. Boy, everyone's picking on green, but instead of going back to the player, no, this guy goes back to the reserve. The mafioso remains within the game, but you still now have to go use different actions to actually get him back into your hand and actually make him useful for you. So that's the harbor space. So we move along to the Fight Club. And the first rule about Fight Club is I'm not going to talk about it. So let's go to the police. Now we'll talk about it because it actually it's quite important. Fight Club is a bit of an exception to how majority is scored. If we have a scenario like this, yellow and red in this particular case are tied. It does not matter who got there first. So in this particular case, all that matters is how many mafioso you actually have there. So red has 2, yellow has 2. There is a tie for majority at the Fight Club. What this means is nobody gets a victory point. Oh man, but everybody gets the benefits. Well, everybody who shared the majority. If we had green over here, green's really playing a lousy game, but if we have green over here, green does not tie, it does not get any benefit, but yellow and red would share the benefit, and that benefit is you're able to recruit a mafioso from the reserve. So fantastic. So you're able to take, red takes a guy, he adds him to his hand, green takes a guy, adds him to his hand, and that's one way you go hang out at the sweaty Fight Club. Let these guys spit their spit in your old can there while you're sitting on the side while they're slugging each other away, and you're able to recruit some of the finest mafioso the city has to offer. So again, in the case of a tie, nobody gets the victory point, but both people would get the benefit, or whoever is tied get the benefit. If there is an outright majority, again, no red because I'm doing so well, red in this particular case would get both the victory point and the benefit of recruiting an additional mafioso, and yellow would get nothing. So that's the Fight Club. Now we move on to the police station. So again, we move our stack over here. The police station behaves as normal. In this particular case, again, red gets majority because he was there first. That's the tie break. He would get the majority, so red gets another victory point. Woohoo! Woohoo! And the benefit that red gets to do is he gets to take this policeman, and I get to put him in my hand. I go, okay, here's the police guy. I have gotten the majority of the police station, and since I'm in with the police and I'm in good with them, I've been buying them special donuts laden with gold and jewelry that I've stolen from other neighborhoods. These guys are giving me information. So what this allows me to do is now on any of my opponents, I can go and take a look at their cards at any time I want. I can go, okay, so that's what you got. Okay, I'll put it over there. And then I can look at this guy and I can look at this guy, because the cards actually hold a very powerful hidden information. You don't know when people are going to play different things on you at different times. So the policeman gives you that ability to see what people might have up their sleeve. So maybe you can try to prepare for it. A good example of this might be if you see somebody's going for the hitman, for the harbor, quite hard, you might assume that he's got the hitman card and he's going to whack somebody nearby in an adjacent space. So you might want to have the policeman to go check it out and go, hey, wait a second, you know, are you going to come and get me? And so you can kind of get a better flavor for what people are got up their sleeves. So that's what the police station does. And then we go over to the business district. And the business district, here, we'll just leave this particular scenario. Here, red would win majority again. They both have one, but red being on the bottom wins. So red gets another victory point. Wow, this might be the fastest game ever. So red gets another victory point. And the benefit with the business district is you are able to draw 3 cards off the top. And the really cool thing about this is when you draw the 3 cards, I can add them immediately into my hand. So here we go. So there's my 2 over there. I gotta go 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. And then I have to discard 1 card, but it does not have to be one of the 3 cards I drew. It could be one that was already pre-existing in my hand, which were these 2. So that's quite powerful. You can really get a lot of cards and trade in maybe some dead weight that you don't plan on using. So maybe I'll take this. No, I like that one. So we'll take this one, and then I'll discard that. And so that's the special ability of the business district. Like any good mob boss, your power is represented by your number of mafioso, and again by the cards you have in hand. So that's quite a powerful place you want to be. So you can start building up your hand to allow you different actions and abilities. And moving on, we got the Gentleman's Club. Hey, that doesn't look like the Gentleman's Club I remember from college. Well, no, this is a more distinguished time, I guess. This is, again, the majority scored the same way in the Gentleman's Club. Here, red would get majority because red gets the tie break from being there first. So red gets the victory point. Woohoo! Then the added benefit that the Gentleman's Club gets is you must have a card. The Gentleman's Club is concerned about the symbols on the card, and there's 4 different symbols on cards, which I'm going to describe in a second, which are indicated here on your second player reference guide. But you'll see that top symbol's got a star with a +1 on it, and that's only to be used in a Gentleman's Club. If you win the majority at the Gentleman's Club, you can then play a card with that symbol on it. Now this time I'm not looking at the hitman. I don't care about that part of the card. I'll explain the anatomy of the cards in a second. I only care about that symbol. And with that symbol, I would get an additional victory point. So suppose I play this card, I got my symbol +1, then I get an additional victory point. So if you got the majority at the Gentleman's Club, there is a good chance that you could get 2 victory points if you play your cards right. No pun intended. So the 7th and final district is the City Hall, and this is where the mayor hangs out. Here we have our stack that I've been using for the whole demonstration, but similar to the Fight Club, there is no tiebreak for the City Hall. So in this particular case, nobody would get majority. Red does not get the majority for having tiebreak. So in this particular case, the mayor would stay here, nobody would get majority. But let's let yellow win a majority here. They've been losing the whole round. So here now we have 3 yellow to 2 red. Yellow wins majority. So yellow would get the victory point. So here you go, yellow. Getting the game. All right, so yellow's got a victory point. And what yellow gets to do is they get to take the mayor. And they'll put the mayor, just like we did with the policeman, they'll put the mayor in front so we can all see that this yellow now has the power of the mayor. If somebody has control of the mayor during the location phase, they get to control how the order in which the majority is scored, basically the tile order. I explained it in numerical order, and that's the default for if the mayor is actually in the city hall. The mayor is here, then you always do numerical order and then player turn order. But if the mayor is being controlled in this case by yellow, then what gets to happen is yellow gets to control, okay, we're going to do the majority at location 4 first, then we'll do this business district, then we'll go do the jail cell, and they get to control that direction of how things are going. So it gives them power, because if they've set up a few combos, like we've seen are quite possible if you have control of the jail or the hitman, if they can control the sequence in which that's going to be done, and they can almost give them a control as to how the combos will lay out for them. So that's the power of the mayor. After the location phase, we have what's called the strategy phase. Again, if the mayor is here, you would go in numerical order and in turn order, and you decide how many mafioso you want to keep. So if let's go back to the jail cell. Red, we are a starting player, so we have to decide first. We go, I am going to take back this mafioso. So all the mafioso on top cascade down. This mafioso comes back to my hand, so I'll have them available for the next round. But I have the privilege or the right to leave a mafioso. Now yellow's turn to decide again for location 1. He goes, I got lots of guys out there. Red seems to be sticking around. I'm going to take 2 guys back. So he can take 2 guys back. And then we'd go to location 2 and we do the same thing. And so in the strategy phase, you're able to pull your mafioso back into your hand, and you're also able to leave some mafioso that already existed out there for next turn, so that they're in a position that may or may not benefit you depending on what you want to do. So that's the strategy phase. Well, if the mayor is in the city hall, well, you have to do that in numerical and turn order. Well, now, wait a second. Yellow's got the mayor. Then what yellow could do is say, you know what? I don't want to decide first. Red, you decide. And so then red would have to make up their decision as to what they're going to do, which will do the same thing. And so yellow can see then how they want to play it out. So they get the benefit of seeing what other people are planning on doing, and then they get to act accordingly. So if you have the mayor, while people are pulling back their mafioso in a strategy phase, you can control the order, the city district order that occurs, and also the order in which the players must resolve. It doesn't have to be in player turn order. So that's basically what he gets to do. He gets to call the shots, and I guess that's the reason why he's holding that big wad of cash in his hand. At the end of the strategy phase, we have the end of the round, and the end of the round is quite simply where people will get cards back in their hand. The first check you have to do is you have to see if there's one player and only one player who has both the lowest number of victory points. So here red is doing really well. Yellow's got 1 victory point, and green and blue have 0 victory points each. But you need to see if somebody has the lowest number of victory points and also has the lowest number of cards. Well, both green and blue are tied for that. 0 victory points and 2 cards. Okay, so that condition is not met. There's 2 people tying. No additional card is given, because suppose one person did meet those requirements, they'd get an additional card into their hand. The second situation you check is you check for the player who has the lowest number of victory points. And now it doesn't matter the number of cards. So again, green and blue are tied with the lowest number of victory points. Nobody gets the additional card. And then after that, everybody gets an additional card. So here, this guy gets a card. This guy gets a card. And so you draw a card off the deck. So as a minimum, at the end of each round, everybody's going to get 1 additional card. And as a maximum, you'll get 3 additional cards if you're doing really, really poorly. And it's a bit of a catch-up mechanism, but the reason for that is it kind of makes sense. If you had a round where you're kind of laying low, or your mafioso have been laying low for a while, it would make sense that the cops aren't onto you. The other mob bosses are kind of leaving you alone. It gives you a chance to kind of get back into the game. Now, before we talk about the action phase, the other thing I should mention, which I didn't point out earlier, was you're given these nice big black cubes. And so as you are going through and resolving the location phase, you put a cube on each city district that you resolve, just to remind yourself, especially when somebody has the mayor in their hand, which tiles you've actually resolved the victory points for and the special bonuses for, because it may not be in numerical order. So you'd put these out there as you play, and then in the strategy phase, as you start drawing back your mafioso, you take these cubes off the board and put them back into the reserve area. And this is a really great way to just kind of keep track as to what you've done. So in the location phase, you put them on, and in the strategy phase, you take them off. So let's talk about the action phase. The action phase is really quite simple. You basically go around and you place your mafioso on the board. So you do it one at a time. So this guy, red goes, yellow goes, and around we go. So that's one option that you can do. The second option you can do is you can actually play a card. And I will talk about the anatomy of these cards in just a second, because there's a little bit of explaining to do with how the cards are set up. The third thing that you can do is you can just simply pass, and you can pass with mafioso still in your hand, and cards still in your hand. The cards you keep from round to round, it just doesn't matter. You can pass when you feel that you're in a good position to do so. There is a way to get back into the game after you've passed, and it's best to explain that with the cards. So if we just take a quick look at the cards here, they're essentially broken into two parts. You have the top part, which where you have symbols, and you have the bottom part where you actually have text, and you actually have the phase in which it can be played. So we've talked about the location phase. So this is a card that can be played in the location phase, and then you just read the text and it tells you exactly what to do during that phase. And then you have the symbols. These are not at all related. You either play the card for the text during that phase that it describes, or you play it for the symbol. You cannot play it for both. And just to give you an indication that they are not totally related, there are 4 different symbols in the game, and they are indicated here again on one of your cheat sheets. And so you see here, I have exactly this 4 of exactly the same card, the police chief card. And so the text and the time that you play it is always the same, but you'll notice that it's accompanied by 4 different symbols. So the symbols and the card are not at all related. They can be played differently. So let's first talk about the symbols. Well, as I described before in the location phase, when you have that +1 symbol, that's the card you play when you get area control of the Gentleman's Club, and then you get the 1 victory point, and as an additional bonus, if you play a card with any card with this +1 on top of it, you would get a 2nd victory point. The fist symbols this is basically a reaction. If somebody plays something that you don't like, you can say, you know what, I don't like that card you just played on me. I'm going to block it. And the way you block is you need to play 2 cards, just like this, both with these fists on it. And so this allows you to block any card played on you or on anybody else. So that's the really cool thing about this game. You can react to anybody's move, whether it was against you or not. So this really helps you with the negotiation in the metagame, which is quite interesting. So you can play 2 fists as a reaction to a card that is played. Third symbol is this bullet, and I talked about passing before in the action phase. You can pass, and if you want to get back into the game during the action phase, if you want to get back in and realize that, no, you know what, maybe I need to get back in, things have changed a little bit since I've been out, you would play this card with a bullet on it, and that gives you the privilege of having 1 turn within the action phase as you normally would. So if you take this card, you'd play it and say, right, I'm back in on the action phase, it's got a bullet. You discard that card, and then you would take an action as you normally would. You cannot take the action on the card. You're actually using card just for that bullet, for the privilege of getting back into the action phase. So that's the bullet. And then the fedora hat, you can play 1 fedora hat, and this allows you to take one of these mafioso that you've placed in the action phase and put it back in your hand. So that is quite a useful card to do that, because then you can say, you know what, things have changed a little bit. I'm not really comfortable leaving my mafioso out in the jail. I think he's going to get mugged, possibly in the showers. I better get out of there. So then you could play 1 fedora and take him out. You could also play 2 fedoras, and when you play 2 fedoras, what this allows you to do, allows you to take a mafioso from the reserve from all the way over here and then place it immediately someplace out on the board during the action phase instead of taking a Mafioso from your hand. So these are the two ways that you can actually get Mafioso from the reserve. You can either recruit them again at the Fight Club, as we talked about in the location phase, or you can play 2 Fedora hats and you can get them that way. So those are the different symbols. But then if we don't look at the symbols and we just look at the text on the bottom, the cards can be played for the text on the bottom during 3 different phases, either during the action phase, when you're placing your Mafioso or playing cards, during the location phase. So here again we have the Hitman card, so that's when we're actually resolving the district benefit of the harbor. And then I could play this Hitman card during that time and actually whack another mob guy. Or you can do it as a reaction. Again, a reaction is whenever anybody plays something against you or somebody else, you can just cancel the effect, and it basically just read the description here and I'll tell you exactly when and how you can do it. So you can react to anything by playing 2 of these fists, or you can react to something specific by playing a reaction specific card and just reading the text as it is. So those are how the cards are worked. You can either play the card for the text below, which must be within this particular phase, and it just read when and how you do it, or you can play the card for the symbols above here, and the symbols are described here in your little player cheat sheet here. Right, so then what you can do is in the action phase, you can place this guy out, you can place the Mafioso out, you can play a card provided that you're playing it for the appropriate symbol or during the appropriate action text that's down here in the bottom, and again they're separate things. Or you can pass, but you can get back in from a pass by playing a card with a bullet on it and then taking an action as you normally would. So then once you go through that and you resolve all of that and everybody has passed and is comfortable with it where they are, then you go into the location phase, which I described as where the victory points are assigned. If during that location phase somebody gets the victory points pre-described here by this chart, then that would be the final location phase and final phase of the game, in fact, but you would still finish that location phase, so all 7 tiles would be scored as they normally would. So again, this chart is to be used just as a game ending condition. It's not necessarily whoever gets there first wins. So then you do the location phase, you resolve the victory points and the special benefits associated with each tile, and then from there you go to the strategy phase where you get ready for the next round and try to gear up your Mafioso in your hand so you're good to go, so you can do your next plans. And then you got the end of round, which there are 3 separate ways to gain an additional card into your hand. The first 2 ways are essentially kind of a catch-up mechanism. Well, either you have the lowest victory points and the lowest number of cards. The second condition is you have just the lowest number of victory points, and the third condition is everybody gets a card. Then you rinse, repeat, and keep playing until you're all done. So I hope you enjoyed the Avoid the Rules. Stay tuned for my final thoughts on the game. Thank you. Oh man, so what did you think? Thank you again for watching Avoid the Rules with Mafia City. Let's just have some final thoughts. So what do I think? Like I said in the intro, this is just an awesome area control game, and the reason why it is just phenomenal in my books is the barrier to entry into this game is very, very little. The instructions are immaculately written, very well laid out, easy to follow. There's never a time in the game where like, what do I do next? It's very clear. You're up and running like that. The second thing that I really love about it is just dripping in theme. You have you're a mob boss, you're controlling all your heavies and all your thugs, you're sending them out, and you're sending them against all your buddies, and you're having a good old time, swigging some beers while you do it. And, trying to talk like a mob boss, sending hitmen, to whack some other guy. It is just pure fun. Like, I really, really enjoy the theme. It's dripping in it. The rule book has flavor text for everything that you read through. Even all the tie breaks have, just as an example, if you kind of flip through here, the tie breaks are all theme based. For example, If 2 or more players have the highest number of victory points, the order of tiebreaker is as follows, and there's 4 tiebreaks, so someone's going to win. That's another great thing. If you're a mob boss, you gotta win. That's the whole point, right? There's no such thing as, oh, let's share or have a shared victory. Mob bosses don't go down to have pints together with a shared victory. But lower count of mafioso in the reverse. So that basically means that if you have or in the reserve, pardon me, I guess I've been drinking too much of this, but lower count of mafioso in the reserve. So that would imply that you've taken more mafioso out of your reserve and you've actually got them into the city, and you actually have a bigger gang than the other guy in the city. And it just keeps going down. So the theme itself is just incredible. If you want to know more about what I think, the detailed breakdown of everything, what I think about the game in a very structured way, I also have a written review on Board Game Geek. I encourage you to check it out. But the game itself suffers from a lack of awareness, suffers from a lack of distribution. I believe if more people had the opportunity to play this game, that they would love it. And part of the reason why I'm saying that is I just helped organize FallCon 26 year running here in Calgary with 500, more or less 500 attendees. And I lent my copy of Mafia City to be played because the other copy I was put up for play to win. So if somebody played the game, they got a raffle ticket, got to put it in, they got to play to win. This game was on the table the entire weekend, and I taught almost every game that was played. And without exception, everybody loved it. If anybody had the opportunity to play at FallCon, please comment. And they really enjoyed it, and a lot of people were extremely disappointed that they never won the game. But then they said, you know what, no problem, I'm going to go buy it. And I said, ooh, tough. Sorry, buddy, you cannot buy this game. And that's when people started getting a little bit irritated because they had a phenomenal time playing it. To me, this is your go-to gateway area control game. All people who never played the style of game before loved it because it was dripping in theme. It was easy to pick up. It was very intuitive what each thing did. It made sense with the theme. Serious gamers alike really loved it because they were really looking at all the different combos that you could do, because there's the combos on the board, there's the combos with the cards. You're trying to, you're set collecting the cards, you're trying to manage to bid on places on the board that will actually match and work well with the cards that you have. There's the negotiation aspect that occurs where you're not able to trade things in this game, which I think is great. Some people complain about that, but I think it's great that you can't trade things because you really have to kind of manage and work your own hand and keeping in mind what everybody else is doing. But there's that metagame, there's that negotiation going, man, don't screw me this time. Tell you what, I got your back at the Gentleman's Club. We'll go back and we'll smoke some cigars together. We'll have some laughs. We'll have some good times, but honestly, man, don't throw me into the jail cell. Or if you do that, I'm sending over the hitman. I'm going to whack you. Well, you don't have the hitman. You're bluffing. Well, am I? Am I? So it's a really great game that way. It's a really fun game to be playing with people who, again, who like to take their game seriously, but if you don't want to take it seriously, you're going to have just as much fun. I've played this game with 3 players all the way up through 5, and based on the conditions that they put in the rule book about how many mafioso you start with, the victory point game-ending conditions, the game scales very, very well. My only complaint about the game was for the beginner, they have 2 different victory point game-ending conditions. One for the beginner and one for the advanced player. I think I got it on there. And the beginner game's too short. And by that I mean is if you are winning, or in my particular case, when I invited over my gaming buddies, they basically just teamed up on me because they were angry that they could not get this game and I had it. How dare I have this game that they don't have? So because of that, they're going to pick on me in the game. I hate players that do that, but that's what they did. So they decided to pick on me, and I was just getting annihilated. I wasn't even close. The one guy had 7 victory points. I had 0. I was just doing so poorly in the game. But then I was able to lay low, kind of watch the moves and start building up. And again, with the catch-up mechanism at the end of each turn, we can get a few extra cards, and I could start maneuvering, and I could start piecing together a comeback strategy. And it was starting to come together for me. And then bam, the game ended. I'm like, oh man, I was so close. But so I emailed the designer right away. I'm like, hey, you know, I just played my first game. It was an awesome experience, even though everyone teamed up on me just because they felt that I shouldn't win this game because I won enough just by actually having a copy. So he emailed back and said, yeah, that's exactly what happens in beginner game. You don't have that ability to regroup and then get back into the game because the game will end too soon. So if you got the time, and I understand why they did this. They did this so that beginners just basically get the mechanics down, but the mechanics that come right after your first round, you're good to go. So if you got the time, play to the advanced or the experience level game-ending condition because although you're going to get picked on if you're leading or if you're perceived to be leading, that's not a problem because there's enough time in the game to get slammed, regroup, lay low, let the other mob bosses shoot it out for a little bit, and then come back and still grab a victory. So I really like that that part of the game. The only other minor complaint I had was about the policeman. He's supposed to be able to look, you know, if you have him, you can look at everyone's hands of cards and kind of see what's going on, and that's supposed to be advantageous because the cards are also the bigger stack of cards you have and the bigger mafioso you have, you know, it gives you power because you have the ability to move and react. And especially with cards, you don't know quite what people are going to do. So this allows you to see what people might be putting together. For the heavy hitting that goes on in this game, we felt that this guy was a little bit underpowered, but there is a alternative, and I prefer to play with the alternative. There's one card called the Thief card, and this Thief card basically lets you go up to, oops, somehow the camera is focused on me, stupid camera, but doesn't it know that card is much better looking? Oh, well, it's not going. Anyhow, so the Thief card lets you take a random card from any other player, just go doink, thank you very much. But if you play the Thief card, in addition to the police card will let you, or the policeman will let you look at the player's hand and choose a card of your liking. Then you take the police guy, you've used your benefit, and you'd return him back to the police station. That is awesome. So my minor complaints I had about the game, gone. Completely destroyed, and I really enjoy playing this game. It is a great intro game for this style of game because it's just dripping in theme and it is just mechanically simple and there's a lot of neat mechanics that go on and it just makes thematic sense. So my advice to you is if you're a publisher, pick up this game! If you are a board game enthusiast going to Essen, pick up this game! If you are living in Calgary and you want to try it out, give me a call, leave a note, and I'd be happy to lend it to you, or come on over, let's play it. I love playing it. If you're none of those, write your publisher and say, pick up this game! I hope you enjoyed the post-game commentary. There's a lot more in my written review. It's a lot more detailed. Feel free to give that a look as well. It's under the Board Game Geek Mafia City section. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the walkthrough, and I hope you enjoyed the overview of Mafia City. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video I do.